Most people don't know what an archives is. I was attending a conference up in Penticton, British Columbia, and was coming back and driving the back roads of Washington. I didn't realize how quickly the speed limit signs change. And I saw the police officer pass me. I was going one way, the police officer was going another, and he flipped his lights on and made a U-turn. So I just pulled over and waited for him. And he says to me, what are you doing in a state car on a Sunday? And we said, well, I was at an archivist convention in British Columbia. And he goes, an anarchist convention. The State Archives houses the papers and the information of state government agencies and its elected officials. Any state agency, any local government agency, so schools, school districts, ESDs, water sewer districts. The State Archives is responsible for maintaining the permanent records of those. In 1985, when I started at the State Archives, this Oregon State Archives was probably generously bottom 5 programs in the country. It really just existed. It really wasn't proactive in doing anything. If you went into the Lerner warehouse and saw how the state's historic records were being kept, it was just pathetic. There were open pipes, sewer pipes, water pipes. There was no climate control. It was a warehouse. It was not an archives by any stretch of the imagination. To get a new building, it was a hard sell in convincing Barbara Roberts that we needed a new building, because people don't understand what an archives does, why. They always think it's a nice to have, and everybody wants to preserve history. They don't want to pay to preserve history. They went and toured all the new archives buildings that had been built across the country, and they took the best features out of every one of those facilities and created our archives building. And I can honestly say, and I know I'm biased, but our building is probably, in my opinion, the best designed archives building in the country. Everything was built state of the art in that time period. And here the building's been open for 30 years and they haven't had to replace the carpets. They haven't replaced the lighting fixtures. They haven't replaced the travertine floor, nothing, So it was really built as a 100-year building to accommodate, and safely store the state's historic records, including the Constitution, which had never been, as far as we know, in an environmentally controlled place until the new archives building was built. The reference room was designed so that the public could come in and use all of the original records that they needed in a place that was bright, light, and calming. So it gave an opportunity that really Broadway, the warehouse we were in, nobody wanted to come there. But when we moved, we got people in. So it became more of a gathering place, and people got more information about what we had and how to use the records and what to do with them and how much information was there for them. We were the first archives in the world on the web. And that was key, because once we were on the web, we then could expand what information we would put out there. So we would put on, early on legislative records were some of the biggest records we put in. Photographs were easy to put in, that sort of thing. Not a whole lot of anything else until we started with our electronic records management system, which then allowed the original electronic records were going into the system. So then we could get more information in. So now if you look at what we have online, we have some death certificates online, we have legislative records online. In fact, the legislative records go right from the legislature into the electronic records management system, which then immediately puts them online. So people can trace a bill from the comfort of their home. They don't have to come in anymore. The Oregon State Constitution was never really well cared for. Like I said, it never came to the state archives until we got the new building and could put it temperature and humidity control. But it stayed in the vault and never left the vault, except for the 150th birthday. We did put it on display at the Capitol. You could see the deterioration in the book. We didn't really have proper cases for it. The binding had broken. So then it was a matter of getting it to the Northeast Document Conservation Center in Andover, Massachusetts. And a lot of people ask me, well, why are you taking it out of state? There's bookbinders here. And I said, because this is the organization that deals with valuable historical records. They did the Emancipation Proclamation. They did the Mayflower Compact. You know, they've done all sorts of, you know, highly valuable historical records. So we made that arrangement. I flew the Constitution back to Andover, Massachusetts. The Secretary Richardson had made arrangements with TSA, so the book did not have to go through the x-ray machines and everything. I carried it in a nondescript black bag, and believe me, that bag never left my possession. During takeoff and landing, I would wrap it around my foot so that nobody could take it. And I didn't sleep. I usually sleep on cross-country flights. I didn't sleep on that flight at all. And so we took it back there and worked with the conservationists back there, and they did a remarkable job, and they were just thrilled to be able to do this. It took about 6 months, and then I went back and picked it up. When I have it on display, people will come up and say, what language is that in? And I just says, it's English, it's cursive, but they don't teach cursive anymore, so a lot of people can't read it. So the other thing that we did is I worked on doing an exact translation, so now people can read side by side what the original Constitution says. I asked Secretary Richardson for a civics education program, and we got the Oregon Kid Governor program. And it is a fantastic, non-political way of teaching fifth graders how to get involved in their community, what their government's all about, how to vote. And it has been just a joy. And it's one of my favorite things that I've ever done as a state archivist or as a public employee. It's just amazing to see these kids and the level of insight that they have into their communities and what's important to them and how they would solve those issues. And our 4 kid governors are great ambassadors for the state, and they will make great future leaders, whether they actually run for office or just get involved in their community. I think the future of archives is really an important piece to discuss. I mean, like I said, is the numbers who come in and actually use our archives, you know, may dwindle in the future, but the online access. And I think in this day and age, getting public information out to the public is the number one importance for an archives. They need to be the mediator, the broker, the person that makes sure that agencies are being held accountable for making sure the public can see their information. There's a lot of skepticism about government, and a lot of that is because for some reason or another, government likes to protect its information instead of sharing the information. And I think if they shared it more, you'd have less animosity towards government or suspicion around government, because information helps people to learn and understand.